And welcome to another episode of the Michigan Sports Truth Podcast on Stables Media. This is the weekly discussion and recap. I'm Taylor Phillips, along with Frank Vajcner. This is January 16th, 2022. My opening statement: the University of Michigan makes an interesting move. The Spartans get upset. The Red Wings get a familiar face back in their organization. And the Pistons lose their trade while messing up their tank a bit. Frank, what's your opening statement?
Well, my opening statement relates to the news that broke last night with the University of Michigan and a move that they made, and will it lead to a lot more that happens? We'll get into it.
Yep, we will. But before we do, this show is sponsored by the VigIt Sports mobile app, where great fans cover. Use the referral code STABLES when you sign up. That's the referral code STABLES with a capital S and the rest of the letters being lowercase, including the letter B in the middle, as in billionaire, for Stables Media when you sign up. Shout out to Cali Tickets. Visit CaliTickets.com or call 877-225-8425 and use the hashtag GreatFansCover to support the VigIt Sports mobile app. So, firsthand, according to a source, and it's sent to an article too from the Detroit Free Press, like Frank mentioned off the air just less than a minute before we went on the air. Mark Schlissel fired as president of University of Michigan. Smiley smile at foolish with a number 1 instead of the letter I on Twitter. Tweeted, Jordan Acker just fired the U of M president. This is a strange timeline. And Marlo Moss on Twitter at HowAboutIt91 quoted and tweeted, Bo-enabled mass rape, name still on a building. Schlissel sent some lukewarm, inappropriate text. He gone, $5 signs. So, Frank, you got an article from the Detroit Free Press on that too. Give us the lowdown on it.
Well, this is something I pulled up from David Jesse of the Free Press, and I'll actually have it up right now in front of me. He had said that the University Board of Regents unanimously fired Schlissel for cause following an investigation into a relationship with a subordinate, the board announced Saturday evening. In a letter to Schlissel posted on the school website, the board spelled out its concerns and said his conduct was, quote, particularly egregious considering your knowledge of and involvement in addressing incidents of harassment by University of Michigan personnel and your declared commitment to work, quote unquote, free the university community of sexual harassment or other improper conduct. So there's really a lot to unpack there. I mean, I think we know what's kind of been going on with the whole deal with Dr. Robert Anderson and the mess there. We've discussed that multiple times. But I think this is just the tip of the iceberg, and I think a lot more is going to come out in the coming weeks, and whether it leads to Schembechler's name being removed from a building, on now, but we'll see.
Yep. All right, we'll stay on top of that. By the way, the Michigan Wolverines football program has hired Notre Dame defensive line coach Mike Elston as defensive line coach. Let's get into it with our What's Your Grade segment. Frank, what is your grade on Mike Elston?
I'm going to give this a B higher. Elston was a former player at the University of Michigan. He was there from 93 to 96, if my memory serves me correctly. And he's done a pretty decent job at ND. I know he developed Jeremiah Wosu-Koromora, who was, I believe, a second-round pick in the most recent NFL draft. So, I mean, he'll have a chance to work with the current defensive line at U of M, as well as develop some new guys because they're losing Aiden Hutchinson, and I believe there's another guy on the line they're losing too. The name escapes me. So he's going to have his work cut out for him, and I do think this possibly means, actually more than likely means, that Jim Harbaugh is probably going to stay put unless something completely crazy happens where he gets an NFL offer that he can't refuse. Not saying that that's going to happen, but I think he's going to stay put so all University of Michigan fans can breathe a sigh of relief.
So what's your grade again?
I'm giving this a B.
All right. B, mid-range B it is. So that's our What's Your Grade segment on Mike Elston. Michigan basketball still losing. They lost to Rutgers, and they just keep losing. There's a lot of things wrong with Juwan Howard's Wolverines men's basketball team. It really is. And we'll get to Michigan State being upset being next. But Frank, there's no excuse for this. Michigan had a great run in the NCAA tournament last season, but now they fall into this. Any thoughts on that?
Well, as someone who's on staff with a high school basketball team, I kind of see a lot of similar issues between the program I'm at and the U of M. There's turnovers which are uncharacteristic. I mean, we didn't see that under John Beeline or even Howard's first couple of years. It seems like he doesn't have the right mix of chemistry with his players. I mean, obviously losing guys like Mike Smith to graduation, I think that was a bigger loss than most people envision. I know Vajcner was out to be a Big Ten point guard, and obviously Hunter Dickinson. I don't even think he played against Illinois, and that's somebody you need in your lineup up in a tough Big Ten game. So hopefully they can figure it out, but unless they can really pull something together and get some big wins throughout the rest of January and February, I could see this team missing the NCAA tournament completely.
Yeah, and time is already running out. It really is for Michigan, although it's only January. The way they're losing and performing right now doesn't look good for those Wolverines. And then you got the number 10 Michigan State Spartans men's basketball team being upset by Northwestern 64-62 at home last Saturday afternoon. The Spartans were out rebounded by the Wildcats 36-28 and 15-6 offensively, and the Spartans committed 16 turnovers compared to Northwestern's 9 turnovers committed, which is better basketball than Michigan State's, understandably. So, Frank, that's totally disappointing. Really, that's the reason why. Those are the two reasons why the Spartans lost combined.
Well, the turnovers have just always seemingly been a problem with Michigan State, and I really don't know what much more Tom Izzo can do other than make them run more at practice for every time they turn it over or things like that. Or if we just got to live with it. But getting out rebounded that way, especially on the offensive glass, I mean, look, someone who helps coach basketball, and one of my mentors is a defensive-minded coach. He has preached, when a shot goes up, you have to check out. Find a guy, check him out, get that ball. And Michigan State to get out rebound like that, that is just ugly. And I think Izzo is going to lay into the guys about that. And it's not going to get any easier either, Taylor. They've got to go to Wisconsin to the Kohl Center here on Friday for a 9 o'clock tip-off. That's going to be a real tough one. So, I mean, maybe they can turn it around. Who knows? Big Ten, there's no gimmies.
Yeah, they have to. They have to play better basketball. They have to go to Wisconsin on the road to play the Badgers at Kohl Center. That's a tough task in a hostile environment. And then they just have to buckle down, get more rebounds, and take better care of the basketball. Take better care of the rock. So that's what it all comes down to. A lesson learned there from last Saturday at home, taking Northwestern for granted. So speaking of basketball, the Pistons beat the Magic and the Raptors. The Raptors were in 8th place in the Eastern Conference standings. The Magic last place. Pistons 10-32 now after losing to the Suns, who ran away with their game 136-108. But 133-87 to the Chicago Bulls as well. The Bulls are in first place in the East. The Suns are in first place in the West. So we can't expect the Pistons to even come close to beating the Bulls or the Suns. Nobody expected that. For those who follow NBA basketball that are Pistons fans that are more knowledgeable than the homers out there. So that being said, Cade Cunningham ejected for friends and family in the stands, and the referees called it taunting. They hit him with a second technical foul, which ejected him from the game. But Cade Cunningham, 13 points in the first half, not bad, but the Suns started to run away in that third quarter, and they never looked back from there. So Cade Cunningham is not the reason why. But Cade Cunningham's ejection was not the reason why the Pistons lost by a lopsided result, a lopsided score. So pretty cut and dry there. Pistons still have a terrible record as of late, but they're in second place in the East. They're messing up their number one overall lottery pick. Frank?
Yeah, let me just pull up where they're at in the standings right now.
14th place.
As for Cade
14th
getting his
place.
technical look, yeah. Okay. But as for Cade getting that technical foul for pointing, I mean, two things can be true. You can consider it kind of a ticky-tack technical foul. I mean, he wasn't pointing at an opponent, and I don't think he was using any naughty language. But also, he also realized, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done learn from it. So, hats off to him. Kid, you learned your lesson, and don't do it again next time. Even if your friends and family are there, don't point at them. Just give them a smile and a wink, and there you go.
Yep. There you go. Yep. So that's Pistons. The Red Wings, they hired Nick Lidstrom as vice president. That's a familiar face they get back. So heard from my brother-in-law telling me that Sergei Fedorov's been coaching a Russian team. So a hockey team over in Russia overseas. So
yes, I believe that would be CSKA Moscow in the Continental Hockey League, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah. So Fedorov, kudos to him. He's got a job over there. The Red Wings should still retire his number, 91, of course.
Let the church say amen.
Yeah. The Red Wings, 7 points away from the second wildcard spot in the Eastern Conference standings after shutting out the Buffalo Sabres 4-0. The Buffalo Sabres had 28 points going into Saturday night's game at Little Caesars Arena. Alex Nedeljkovic pitching the shutout. Tyler Bertuzzi, a goal and 2 assists. Fabry, Raymond, and Rasmussen, a breakaway goal fresh out of the penalty box. An amazing goal. Raymond, his goal 13 seconds into the third period. Fabry's goal came from an unbelievable spinorama pass from Tyler Bertuzzi after Bertuzzi opened the scoring. So the Red Wings played much better hockey than they played against the Winnipeg Jets 2 nights prior. So the Wings have a away game in Buffalo, part of a home and home set at 1 on Martin Luther King Jr. Day on a Monday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, against the Buffalo Sabres. That's going to be on Bally Sports Detroit. So, yes, people still want Jeff Blashill fired. The thing is, though, the reason why it probably might not happen after this year is because the Red Wings have gone from basement dweller to at least trying to be a playoff contender, to be honest. They're not tanking anymore. With all the talent they have and the assistant coach, Alex Tanguay, they're just trying to improve.
You're seeing the Yzer plan bear fruit. You're seeing what Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, and those guys are doing. Guys are playing better. I mean, look, there's still some stinkers mixed in there, here and there, like we saw against the Jets and also against the Kings last week. But as long as that doesn't happen consistently, I think Jeff Blatchell's probably going to be safe for now. Well, but we'll see. I don't think Steve Eiserman's really going to tip his hand either way what he does in terms of making a coaching decision. It will be interesting to see what happens at the trade deadline, though. If he wants to consider buying and maybe saying, maybe we can get into the playoffs this year, or if he says, you know what, I don't think we're going to make it. We're just going to sell off some assets, but only time will tell.
Yep, only time will tell there. So that's all the teams we've covered for this episode. Now, the What We've Learned segment. What I've learned, when you're the Michigan State Spartans and you take an unranked opponent for granted and don't get enough rebounds and don't take care of the rock like we've mentioned before, chances are you'll lose, and that's exactly what occurred Saturday afternoon. Also, welcome back, Nick Lidstrom. Frank, what did you learn?
What I've learned relates to both basketball teams in the state, Michigan and Michigan State. A lot of similar issues. Both have issues with turnovers. They got to take care of the ball better. Michigan State forth a better effort, especially when they go to Wisconsin on Friday. Michigan's just got to figure out some issues with their lineups and team chemistry, and maybe they can possibly get back to being considered a tournament team.
Yep, and that's what we've learned. So before we go, this show is sponsored by the Vig It Sports mobile app, where great fans cover. Use the hashtag #GreatFansCover to support the Vig It Sports mobile app, and use the referral code STABLES when you download the app and sign up for an account. That's the referral code STABLES with a capital S and the rest of the letters being lowercase, including the letter B in the middle, as in billionaire, for Stables Media. Also, a shout out to Cali Tickets. Visit CaliTickets.com or call 877-225-8425 to purchase a ticket to an event of your choice. Our next episode, Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern on Stables Media. Until then, for Frank Vajcner, this is Taylor Phillips signing off. Follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Michigan_Truth and on LinkedIn. Like it on Facebook and subscribe to it on YouTube and on Reddit as r/Michigan Sports Truth. Thanks very much for listening, watching, downloading, and sharing. And remember, the truth is out there. TTFN, ta-ta for now. Power to the people, him with a high. We rest our case. Stay safe, stay out of trouble, and stay warm.